Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chazz Clevinger. I'm the founder and CEO of CiviClick. We are a digital advocacy, public affairs, and government relations technology, data, and performance marketing company. I've been told this is the last Learning Hub session of the day, so congratulations, you made it. I'll try not to bore you too much over the next 30 minutes. Today, we're going to be talking about integrating digital advocacy with direct lobbying strategy. As many of you probably in the audience, are government relations professionals. You're used to interacting with lawmakers on a very frequent basis on behalf of your clients or perhaps for an internal organization that you work for. And that's probably why many of you are here, to have those conversations with lawmakers. And so we thought it would be an appropriate topic to go through how to use digital means, technology, and data solutions to complement that direct lobbying strategy. I'm a football guy. I've done a lot of work with DraftKings. I'm very excited about the football season starting in a few more weeks here. And so football analogy that I like to use is that we look at direct lobbyists like the quarterback. They're often the ones driving the messaging and the strategy, and they come to us, to act as an offensive line to help block, to help drive grassroots pressure and constituent engagement, to show to lawmakers that there are actual real people in their districts that care about certain issues, be it opposing or for something of particular relevance. CiviClick was built by people who are active campaigners. Myself, I had a background working for United States Senator Richard Burr in the Bush White House. This is the fourth advocacy technology company I've been an executive at. And then my colleague in the back, Chris Tosto, the distinguished gentleman in the gray, my co-founder, he was the creator of LobbyLinks. 16 years of multi-state, and then ran field and government relations for 6 years for National Right to Work. So bringing that experience on the Hill, campaign strategy, both politically and in the public affairs world, has really helped define our company and our culture. We're very rapid response, and we've based our technology on real-world conversations. Before we ever built the CiviClick platform, I went to meet with 23 different lawmakers on Capitol Hill and their staff, as well as numerous state lawmakers, to have a conversation about what do you guys actually think about these messages that come in from tools like ours. And I got some iteration of, well, Chazz, we appreciate that special interest groups want to have their issues heard by us, but we don't like just getting form letter after form letter after form letter. We want to hear authentic stories from our constituents about what they really care about. And that was the biggest thing that stuck with me out of all of those conversations, and that kept me up like late at night. And so for the last several years, CiviClick has been focused on authentic storytelling through technology. There are a lot of scary things out there that are happening, like with AI, but we believe that we have created a very small, very strategic way to leverage AI appropriately within our platform to help with some of that storytelling. So on typical grassroots campaigns, whether they're platforms, you will see, a form letter message. Many of you have probably created these types of letters before that will be emailed or text out to a group of supporters you may have. And then those people will then in turn click a button and send that message to their lawmakers. Now, what we do differently at CiviClick is we allow you to go in, first of all, create segments of sponsors, non-sponsors, Republicans, Democrats, or if you have a companion bill, House or Senate segments, and create many different variants of those form letters, either on your own or using AI. And then on the front ends, this is really where the true magic happens, because we'll take that magical, wonderful form letter that you took so much time to write, that you put so much research in, that you had multiple meetings on, and 15 different approvals to actually get out the door. And then we will allow real-time inputs from the advocates. So beyond things like just someone's name and address, you can take a question like someone's political affiliation or their age or policy issue interests that they have. So when showing this to our clients, I'll often use myself as an example. I'm a 40-year-old Republican who cares about consumer freedom issues. And so the CiviClick system, what it'll do is it'll take that form message, make very, very modest changes, where we're talking super, super small, because we know how important it is to stick to the substance and core of your messaging. And those small changes will reflect things like tone, vernacular, and word choice that a 40-year-old, overweight man like myself, might convey. versus someone else who is not like me, doesn't sound like me, look like me, or think like me. And so our system is designed to be able to take those real life inputs, not that are being guessed, not that are being derived from a third party like data company, but are being provided directly from your supporters and advocates in real time to generate something that's unique and authentic to them. So if people ask me what makes CiviClick different or why should I care about CiviClick, it's because our core focus, my passion, has been on bringing one-to-one direct, authentic messages to the digital campaigns that we run. For many, many years, obviously, there's been the option for people using these tools to have their advocates write their own stories. But for any of you who have spent any amount of time doing digital advocacy, it's incredibly hard. Usually less than 10% of your advocates will take the time to write a message. And if they do, it will not be what you want them to write. It will be something a little bit off base or maybe way off base. And so by using our system, you're able to gain that advantage of that unique message, while still maintaining full control. So for instance, you have email screening. So if you're a little bit worried that the AI might produce something you don't like, then you still have the ability to screen it before it actually goes to a lawmaker. We also believe in omni-channel approaches to advocacy and beyond email. We've had a lot of success using video stories and testimonials, and patch through calls, tweets, and other forms of communications to lawmakers to be able to help our clients. I see some great folks in the audience. My friend Saul Anuzis back here, president of 60 Plus. I wanted to call him out briefly because he's been one of the most prolific and passionate users of CiviClick. He was able to take an organization that was already thriving with over 2 million supporters, and he has grown his list to over 13 million, through our help now, and is doing some very, very powerful, work in the world of senior issues. He has a lot of great partners and a very creative guy. Thank you for being here, Saul. So there's my clicker. So the stakes are higher than ever. There are good bills, there are bad bills that are out there, and there's a lot of noise. You're not competing just against, if you're, Planned Parenthood, you're not just competing against the pro-life group, or if you're the, NRA, you're not just competing against the Brady campaign, you're competing against all the other special interest groups and the noise that lawmakers are hearing on a daily basis. I had the pleasure of sitting in on a presentation a couple of years ago from Brad Fitch, former head of the Congressional Management Foundation, and he said something that really stuck with me. He said that the average member of Congress receives over 35,000 emails every day during session. That is a lot of emails. There is no way to possibly go through that. No staff member is going through those individually. They depend on their own systems. Fireside 21, IndiGov, iConstituent are some of the popular ones. And one of the things that happens is if you're using tools that simply utilize form messages, those messages are getting flagged, and the staffers are not reading them on an individual basis most of the time, or so they tell me. Like when I have these conversations with them, it just isn't possible to filter through that many communications with the resources that they have in most offices. And forget it when it comes to state lawmakers. They even have a less support in terms of staff members to be able to filter through communications. And so that's why the authentic stories are so important, because with the limited time staff and lawmakers have to be able to go through constituent correspondence, it's key to hit, on what really matters to those individual supporters. Where traditional lobbying often falls short is that, one-to-one direct lobbying meetings only go so far. And most lawmakers know the lobbyist they're meeting with. Perhaps that lobbyist served with them in the legislature before, or was chairman of the state party, or is someone they've known in their past somewhere else. And obviously direct lobbying is the most impactful, way to engage in advocacy. But oftentimes direct lobbyists come and tell me that they need air cover. They say, Chazz, we've talked to a lawmaker and they're interested potentially in our issue, but they need to see that people in their district actually care about this issue and that there's real constituent sentiment. So we need you to help identify people in the district, run a digital marketing campaign and build an audience to drive engagement from the people in those districts so that we can win these key votes on a committee vote or on a floor vote. Now, where digital advocacy often fails, as I mentioned, is that form letter email blasts Worked very well 20 years ago. I was at CQ Roll Call when CapWiz was still around, for any of those of you that used to use that solution. And it was great when it first came out. It was novel, it was new, it was amazing. And the concept of a form letter was the coolest thing since individually sliced bread. But nowadays, that time has passed, and authentic storytelling is the true name of the game. Now, the solution that we believe that's important is not just simply handing a tool to our clients. I feel as though it's kind of like me saying, here's a shovel, good luck digging the hole. We're not like that at CiviClick. We're not focused on being the biggest organization in the digital advocacy technology space. We're focused on being the best. That's why we only provide digital advocacy solutions. We don't do bill tracking. We don't do PAC compliance. All those things are super important. There's a lot of amazing companies here that do that we do work with. That's not us. Our goal is to understand the direct lobbying strategy and the goals of the organizations we work with so that we can help be an active participant in reverse engineering what's needed in order to achieve success. Already talked a little bit about CiviClick, so I'll skip through that one. I mentioned some of our key capabilities, that ability to drive one-to-one unique messaging, to scale your outreach across multiple channels, text, patch through calls like tweets, videos beyond just email. And even though we appreciate and certainly encourage the use of these additional channels, we believe that going back to the basis of email and making email effective again was really one of the core, most important things that we've been able to achieve. So a little bit about, some of the lobbying tactics that are traditionally used: in-person meetings, testimony, vote whipping, bill tracking, meeting one-to-one with lawmakers, going in with a fact sheet, and obviously on the digital advocacy side, being able to mobilize your audiences online, send them emails and text messages to be effective. Let's get into some real-world specifics, right? Because generalities are, helpful, but people want to hear about real-life examples. I gave you one with Saul Newsis there in the back. One of my favorite campaigns that we did this year was for Scout Motors and for Rivian. The electronic and autonomous vehicle world is a very exciting one, but it's rife with legislative and regulatory challenges. So Scout Motors came to us and told us about some of their challenges as they were preparing to launch their new line of vehicles, and had customers in key states that they wanted to mobilize around legislative issues. And they had a lobbying and public affairs firm that they had hired that was a partner of ours that helped create the PR on the larger lobbying strategy, but came to us to look for solutions on the digital advocacy side. I had a very short amount of time to turn this campaign around when it was brought to me. And in less than 72 hours, we drove over 10,000 messages to state lawmakers. So, well, Chazz, how did you do that? Is often the question, I get. So again, this is what makes CiviClick different. We're not passive. We're not just handing you the shovel, handing you the tool and saying, good luck, email your own list, hope it works out for you. That's not how we work. We give you the technology, but then we help you utilize it. We help you build the audiences and engage those audiences, and we don't stop. We are relentless in marketing to those audiences until you get the actions that you need. In fact, we're the only company in the marketplace that I know of that has a performance guarantee relative to our work. We put our money where our mouth is, in the sense that as long as we are able to build an audience model that's at least 40 times the size of the number of conversions that one of our clients need, we will stamp our performance guarantee on that and say we'll hit that number by the deadline within those flight dates, or your money back before that vote takes place. And so that's probably one of the greatest things that we're able to do for our clients is, bring that predictability to be able to say, like, hey, we're not just going to, give it the good old college try. Instead, we're going to do the work, build the audience, even if that means dropping what we're doing in order to do a quick 24-hour turnaround, in order to be able to ensure that that campaign is successful. Votes get moved all the time. And that's another one of the biggest challenges our customers have is somebody may call me and say, Chazz, we think we're going to have an issue in about a month. Just wanted to let you know. And then 2 days later, Chazz, oh my God, they're going to hold the vote in 4 days from now. And that's, happens to us every day, right, Spencer? And so because of that, we become very adept at being able to take our audience models, turn them around like very quickly, deploy direct marketing tactics because all of our data is consent based, and be able to reach audiences through email, through phone calls, through peer-to-peer texts, in a manner where we're able to scale very quickly. Other benefits to this approach is instead of doing traditional advertising, which a lot of our great partners do, we're not held up for 2, 3, 4 days getting approvals on Meta or StackAdapt or other DSP and SSP solutions that delay the launch of digital campaigns sometimes for 3 to 4 days. We have the ability to deploy immediately and effectively in order to ensure our clients achieve success. So a little bit about how our process works. Again, first discovery, determining campaign goals, building branded action pages or widgets, activating our supporters or your supporters, through our AI-driven methodologies. And then some of the key benefits for lobbyists, as I mentioned, air cover, being able to go back to a lawmaker and say, hey, I've got 300 messages from people in your district. And by the way, one of these messages was from a guy that owned 5 car dealerships in your district. Oh, and by the way, another message was from a community college president, who has, 15,000 students that, attend the local community college. And oh, here's a pastor, that has 3,000 people in his congregation. And, being able to take those digital grassroots messages and turn them into meaningful stories and cherry pick what's important from a direct lobbying strategy is also another way that we help provide that ancillary support for lobbyists. Some of the common myths we run into is that lawmakers completely ignore mass messages. They do to a certain extent, but the key is, again, that authentic one-to-one storytelling. Because it's not that they ignore the messages, it's just that they're swamped. Imagine that, you had 5 kids, and because I know Craig does, my colleague here in the front row, and imagine that each of them called you, 6 times throughout the day, 30 calls. It'd be impossible to deal with all of that all at once. And this is what it's like often to be a lawmaker. It's one of the most selfless, sacrificial jobs in the world, because it's a lot of work for very little pay, and you never make anybody happy. So lawmakers are really heroes for what they go through. I used to think I wanted to be one when I was young, but after working on the campaign trail in the White House and seeing what that life was really like, I was like, oh, wow, I'm not that heroic. I can't be into the spotlights every day like that. And so that really leads me to one of my last things that we really believe is important, and I give Chris Tosto in the back credit for this, is we also really believe that taking the time to thank lawmakers for what they do is really critical. It may not be sexy. There may not be money in those types of campaigns in terms of, funding it, but lawmakers are tired and overworked, and they're doing their best. They're passionate. They believe in what they do. Taking time to let them know, hey, Senator so-and-so, we realize we've been beating you up this session, but, you're a hero. You give your time, you give your energy, you sacrifice your family, sacrifice your law practice or whatever business you have to do this job. And we just wanted to recognize that because we spend most of our time telling you what we want you to do. And we wanted to take a little bit of opportunity to just thank you for that sacrifice. So that concludes my presentation. I'll spend the last couple of minutes we have here, since I'm the last session of the day, to take any questions that, people may have. Federal and state campaigns, of course, are our most popular, but a rapidly growing area of our business is our local practice, dealing with cities and counties. A lot of the major corporations that we do work with, their bills may be stalling federally, or they may have already achieved and, gotten to a bottleneck point with some of their major state legislation. So oftentimes, county and local campaigns are ones that our clients bring to us. So for example, a great one to talk to you about quickly, Canvas, is the Digital Restaurant Association. They're an organization that we work very closely with, consulting for, where they ran campaigns in New York City, Miami, Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., to influence the way that food safety standards, were being calculated by local city council, as well as the, pricing, of third-party delivery apps. During the pandemic, groups like Uber Eats and DoorDash greatly expanded. They achieved great success because people were at home, shuttering down, and so people started ordering delivery service. Unfortunately, I never really got out of that habit. I still order, delivery every day. I guess that comes with being a single man, not knowing how to cook anything. But in any case, one of the things that did happen, unfortunately, is, at least in some people's opinion, including my client, was price gouging and, insanely high, fees, in some cities as high as like 30%. And if you know anything about the restaurant business, restaurant owners, cannot afford to pay any third party 30%. That's absolutely insane. When it comes to particularly mom and pop shops that, are just getting by because, someone like in LA County, for instance, I met countless restaurant owners that moved to this country, with nothing but a dream to have their own, like, Greek restaurants or their own Italian restaurants. And, when the pandemic came, it's almost crippled them. And then they survived the pandemic, but then paying 30% to these delivery apps made it almost impossible to function. So we made it our point to go in and fight with the LA County Board of Supervisors and the City Council on behalf of restaurant owners to get more fair standards, fee transparency for consumers, better food safety standards, and ultimately service fee caps that did not gouge these small restaurants. So that's a great example canvas of a local campaign. That's an excellent question. Thank you so much for your question. So there's really two ways that we work with clients. One are clients that have their own lists already, which is their own proprietary data. We don't do anything with those lists. And we help you be able to leverage our native email and texting marketing tools to reach out to those existing audiences that you have. So that could be a list of donors, supporters, stakeholders that already exists for you, and so that's usually where most of our clients start is by engaging their internal stakeholders. However, that's often not enough, particularly if you're an organization that does not have, millions of advocates. So Saul, not everybody's like you. They don't have millions of advocates. So for an organization that's, may only have like, a couple thousand or a couple hundred stakeholders, you know, they need like to be able to create more influence. So I recently had a corporate client that had a small list of just senior leadership, mid-level management of about 1,500 people. The challenge was is that the piece of legislation they needed to influence, they sometimes didn't have anyone at all, or maybe only two or three people in those districts, and so they weren't able to really drive action at scale. And so what we had to do for that particular client is we had to build a model of our data of the people that are in our system already and specifically build those audiences within those 15 congressional districts, creating model. So to your point, in that particular client's case, it was just people interested in, consumer freedom, who were 18 years of old or older who are breathing. But we do have the ability to scale to certain particular criteria, as you mentioned, like, Democrat, 40 plus, 18 plus, or any other criteria that you're looking for. And then once that audience is built, as I mentioned before, as long as that audience is at least 40 times the size of the number of conversions that we need to get, then we'll slap our guarantee on it. If the audience is smaller, we'll still run the campaign. We just won't guarantee that we'll get that number of conversions if it's not as big as 40 times that size. And so in those campaigns, the data that we convert, all becomes yours. So hypothetically, let's say that you're asking me to get you 5,000 messages to the governor in California. And as long as we could build an audience at least 40 times that size, Chris, maybe you can help me with my math. I think that's like 200,000. So you wouldn't get all 200,000 of those records, but you would be able to keep and own the data for those 5,000 people that converted on your campaign. And then you could leverage them in the future as potential residual advocates for your cause. So for instance, one of my corporate clients, they have a very large database of consumers and customers that they leverage because their customers are aligned with their corporate vision in this particular case. And so they have hundreds of thousands of customers that they market to. But they also have us run campaigns to the general public. And so they maintain two databases of advocates. One is their customers, which they're particularly careful with how those campaigns are run. And then there's the general public where, they're able to be a little bit more aggressive and, go after those people with different messages, but still very important to them and how they run their grassroots campaigns. It's a mixed bag. It's particularly challenging for corporations because many of them have been members of trade associations for many years, and the status quo has been to let the trade groups perform the advocacy campaigns on behalf of the companies. Now, that necessarily isn't always a bad strategy, but trade associations, by their very nature, are representing a large variety of corporate interests within their association. And it's like, being a parent, and again, having the 5 kids, you're never going to make every kid happy. And so, why it's important for corporations to engage in advocacy and why many choose to is because they'll come to me and say, well, Chazz, on, you know, 7 out of 10 issues, we're with the association and we let them do our advocacy. But on these 3 issues, the association is not really backing us because one of the other corporate members doesn't want this and it doesn't benefit our companies. So, Chazz, we're going to continue being a part of this association and doing work through them. But we're also going to use you because we have campaigns in these 3 states. Where we need to get our vision for our corporation accomplished. So a good example of this, Dan, is, last year in California, there was a very large, beverage company that was a member of the American Beverage Association, one of its 2 largest members, in fact. And that particular company came to me and said, Chazz, the ABA is doing a great job of mobilizing, like in California. However, we have a specific, set of goals legislatively that we want to accomplish that the association is not willing to take on. And so, Chazz, we want you to create a C4 for us, because we don't want our corporate branding on that issue. We want you to run the C4 and we want you to mobilize. We want you to get people to email, call, send videos to their city council on this issue. And then we also want you to get people to show up to meetings and testify, for us. We want you to help us come up with a strategy for rallying, Chamber of Commerce presidents in the area and business owners and other people that would be supportive of our particular issue. And so to answer your question, yes, but it is oftentimes very tailored, because you're dealing with the fact that associations have traditionally always played that core role, and corporations aren't necessarily looking to step away from those association partnerships, but oftentimes they are looking to find avenues to get the help that they need outside the association as well. All right. Thank you, everyone. Really appreciate you being here today and coming. I'll be up here for a few minutes. If anybody wants to ask me any questions or, ask for a refund, I'll be up here. Thank you for your time and hope you enjoy the rest of your day here in Boston.